Welcome to this Price a Job tutorial. In this video, we will look at a general overview of priceajob.us and how it can save your time and effort when it comes to project management, estimating, and accounting for any American residential building project. Price-A-Job is remarkable cloud-based construction estimating software with incredible versatility and pinpoint accuracy that cuts quotation time down from hours to minutes. Designed by a team of architects, quantity surveyors, legal consultants, web designers, and software professionals, it is as thorough as it is easy to use. Whether you're on a mobile device, tablet, laptop, or desktop, Price-A-Job travels with you to provide you the tools you need when you need them. Getting started is easy. You don't need to register or provide a credit card to jump right into a test demo project. I'm going to log in for this tutorial to show full access to suppliers' price lists and remove the demo watermark from the final reports. This brings us into the Price-A-Job dashboard, which is laid out with the main navigation bar here across the top with tabs for Company, Project, Estimate, Scheduling, and Accounting. If you're missing any of these modules, you can go over here to your profile icon and click on this and then select Shop. And then here you can select the modules that you want to add from Project Management, Estimating, and Accounting. Note that Price-A-Job offers a discount if you commit to an annual subscription, and furthermore, if you're looking to bundle the various modules together, you can save even more by selecting the All-Included package. This gets you 12 months of the full Price-A-Job service for approximately $50 a month. If you compare that to the monthly subscriptions, that's almost the same cost as the estimating package alone. So for that reason, we strongly recommend the annual subscription to the All-Included package. Let's head back to the dashboard, and we'll start with the Company tab. This tab is where we input all of our settings specific to our company, and these will generally apply to all projects that we set up in the future. Here in the left-hand navigation pane, we have pages for company setup, customers, staff, photos, documents, to-do lists, suppliers, subcontractors, plant manager, fleet manager, tradespeople, materials, labor, plant and tool, and other costs. The company setup is where we set up our company information. We can start with our company logo by clicking on the upload button here, or we can just stick with the default image supplied by Price-A-Job. Here you can enter your company name, company address, email, website, and telephone numbers. Here we can input our business number and then specify whether we're tax registered or not. If we are tax registered, taxes will be applied to our estimates after our subtotal, as one single value covering all material, labor, plant and tool, and other costs. If we are not tax registered, then taxes will be charged on materials, plant and tool, and other costs, but not on labor. So if you are tax registered, be sure to check the tax registration box here. Then we can input our accounting information, including our fiscal year end, our starting invoice number, our starting payment number, our last job number, our job number prefix, and payment details with all of our banking information. We can also opt to show or hide our mail signature. The last section is for default profit margins, and these are the profit margins that will be set for all projects that we estimate. So we can use these sliders to set our profit margins. So we might set our materials for 20%, our labor for 15%, and if we prefer just to input the number manually, we can do so here. We'll just set that at 15%, and other costs also at 15%. And now these default profit margins will be used on all projects that we create. In this case, I'm going to set our profit margins all to 20%. And then if we want to, we can discount these on specific projects as we go. Next, let's take a look at the Customers tab. This is where we can input all of our various customers. Across the top here, we have tabs for General, Statement of Account, Documents, and Notes. Under the General tab, we can start by taking a photograph of our clients and uploading the photo here. This will make it easier for our various teammates who have access to the system to identify the decision maker on site. Then we can input the client's name, their email, contact information, and address. If we have any specific notes that we want to input here regarding this customer, we can do so. There's also a section here for custom fields. With this, we can add new fields to this customer profile, including text, select drop-down boxes, a checkbox, or a calendar date picker. We'll discuss these in further detail in another tutorial, but we'll just leave these alone for now. Next, we can take a look at the customer's statement of account. Here we can filter our accounts by date, or specific ranges. And if we want to add a transaction, we can click Add Transaction to add an invoice, payment, refund, or credit notes. Under the Documents tab, this is where we can upload any documents specific to this client. Price a Job allows up to 2 gigabytes of online cloud storage with your account. And here you can create new folders to organize your various documents and then upload your files. And then if you have further notes that you'd like to add to this customer profile, you can do so here by adding a series of notes. You can use these drag handles here to reorder the various notes, or use the delete icon to remove them. Once you have several customers all input, you'll see them all organized here in the right-hand pane. Under the 3 dots, you can access the menu to delete a customer from your database. If you want to add more customers, you can click the Add Customer button here and create a new customer profile. And this new customer is added to your list, and you can update their profile the same as we just looked at. Next, let's take a look at the Staff tab. This is where we can keep track of our various employee records. To add a staff, click the green Add Staff here in the top right, and then input your staff member's name, and this creates an employee profile. As you input more employees, you'll see them all appear here in the right-hand pane. Again, the 3 dots can be used to delete an employee from your database. Similar to the customer's profile, we have a variety of tabs across the top here, including personal details, payments, timesheets, skills, rates, documents, and notes. Under the personal tab, we can edit the employee's name and specify their job title, and input their email, contact information, and address. We can also expand further details by clicking the Show button here, and we can input their status, date of birth, gender, marital status, and start date. And again, we can use the plus icon here to add custom fields if we wish, including either freeform text fields, drop-down select boxes, checkboxes, and a calendar date picker. And again, we'll cover these in more detail in another tutorial. Next, there's the Payment tab. And this is where you can input all your various payroll details, including payroll reference, UTR number, NI number, and banking info. Under the Timesheet tab, you can sort the employee's timesheets by week, by specific date, or by custom reports. To add a timesheet to this employee's profile, just click Add and then select a project that the timesheet refers to. And then you can input their hours here manually. And Price a Job will calculate their total hours. Now in this case, it says that the amount owing to this individual is $0, which is obviously incorrect after 48 hours of work. And that's because this employee profile isn't completely set up yet. To fix this, we'll have to input their rate. So we'll select the Rates tab here at the top, and by default, each employee is offered a rate type called Normal Hours. We can add additional rates by adding a rate here to add overtime hours, price work, sick pay, or vacation pay. Or we can create something new if it doesn't appear on this list. For now, let's just adjust their normal hours rate, and for rate here, we'll input this as $25 an hour. Now we can go back to the timesheet, and we see that this timesheet still has not updated yet. That's because this entry was made before the rates were updated. So to fix that, let's just delete this timesheet that we input previously and confirm the deletion, and then add a new timesheet and select the project it refers to. And then we can input their hours again. And now that we have their rates properly specified in the appropriate tab, this employee's pay is reflected properly on this timesheet. Next, let's take a look at the Skills tab. This is where we can input our employee's trade and qualifications. So for example, this employee might be a journeyman electrician, and we could input their qualifications here, along with the date of qualification and the qualification status. And save. We already took a look at the Rates tab, so let's take a look at the Documents tab next. And again, just like the Customers tab, here we can upload documents specific to this employee, and this will share the same 2 gigabytes of cloud storage for all documents in our account. So again, we can organize this with a series of folders, and then upload files such as a driver's license, certifications, or any other documents relating to this employee. And lastly, if there's any specific notes that we want to include on this employee, we can just add some notes here as well. Now that our company setup is complete, let's take a look at some of our management tools, starting with a Photos Manager. And this is where we can upload photos that are specific to our company. And again, this shares the same 2 gigabytes of cloud storage as all documents and photos in this account. So here you might want to upload company logos, photographs of your offices, or any other photos relating to your company. Next is a Documents Manager. And similar to before, this is part of the same 2 GB of shared cloud storage, and we can organize documents in folders and upload files that relate directly to our company. So this might include incorporation papers, insurance policies, and other documents relating to our company. Next, there's a to-do list. The to-do list can be organized in a series of tabs, and to create a tab, we click the plus icon here. So let's give this tab a name. We'll call this Maintenance, and add that one. And we'll add an extra tab here, and we'll call this one Shopping. And now for each of these tabs, we can set a variety of tasks specific to our company. And we can input these tasks that are specific to our company, and then save. And as we fulfill these tasks, we can click on the status button here to change the status to in progress, in review, completed, or canceled. As you build various tasks, you can use these drag handles to reorder the tasks sequence. Under the 3 dots, you have options to copy, archive, or delete each task. Next, let's take a look at the Suppliers window. This is where we can maintain a database of our suppliers. To add a new supplier, click Add Supplier here in the top right. You can input your supplier's name, and this creates a supplier's profile. Up in the top here, we can upload a supplier's logo or photograph. As you build many suppliers in your list here in the right-hand pane, the logo or photograph will be helpful in picking out your suppliers quickly. Under the Profile tab, you can edit their company name, input their category, either materials, motor expenses, office supplies, other expenses, tools and equipment, or travel and subsistence. In this case, this would be a materials supplier. We can input their customer number, address, contact details, account type, whether credit or cash, input our credit limit, say 10,000, and as well we can add custom fields here, and any notes regarding the supplier. Under payment details, we can input our supplier's banking information and tax number. And under orders, we can document our various orders with the supplier. To fill out the order form, Price and Job takes us to the Estimate tab under Reports, and here we can fill out our order. To do so, we select our supplier here, and then set the status, whether it's delivered, on hold, delayed, canceled, or awaiting. And we can also customize the appearance of our order by moving the logo to the left, right, or center. Then you can either add items manually by inputting the description, quantity, and units here, or you can import materials from the Price of Job library by selecting either material, labor, plant and tool, or other costs. We'll get into the details of filling out order forms in another tutorial, but for now, let's just head back to the Company tab and continue with the Supplier's profile. Next, let's take a look at the Documents tab. And similar to as we've seen before, we have our shared 2 GB of cloud storage here that we can upload any documents related to this supplier. We can organize them by folders and then upload the files that we need. And this might include documents such as certifications or insurance. And lastly, there's a tab here for miscellaneous notes, and we can just add any notes that are relevant to this supplier. Next, let's take a look at our Subcontractors tab. This is where we can keep records on all of our various subcontractors. To add a new subcontractor, click Add Subcontractor here in the top right, input their name, and save. And this creates a subcontractor profile. Here we can input their company name and contact details, as well as any notes. If we want to add custom fields, we can do so. Under the payment details, we can specify their banking information. Under CIS, we can input their tax number and other government information. Under the Jobs tab, we can add any jobs that the subcontractor will be working on. Here we can input the job number, the amount of the job, description, and status. And save. If there are any files that we'd like to attach to this job, we can click the file icon here and add any files specific to this order. And again, this will be part of our 2 GB of shared storage. Under the Documents tab, we can upload files that are specific to this subcontractor. And again, this might be certifications or insurance. And finally, we have a notes section here for notes specific to this subcontractor. Next, let's take a look at our Plant Manager. And this is where we can keep track of all our plant, tools, and other equipment. To add a piece of equipment, click the green icon here, Add Plant and Tool, and give it a name, and save. This opens a profile entry for this piece of equipment, and here you can upload an image of the item. Under the General tab, you can specify the model name, the serial number, the cost, purchase date, service due date, location, its status, any custom fields that you'd like to add, or any notes specific to this piece of equipment. Under the History tab, you can add any events in the history of this equipment. Just give the event a title, a date, the mileage, the cost, and a type, whether this was maintenance, repairs, service, inspections, sold, accident, scrapped, or other. Under the Reservations tab, you can add reservations for this equipment. Just input the dates, from and to, the location, requested by, and any notes. Also, for each piece of equipment, you have a Documents folder with the same shared 2 GB of cloud storage, where you can organize your documents by folders and then upload the files. And this might include owner's manuals, registration papers, or insurance. And finally, under the Notes tab, you can add any specific notes to this equipment. As you add more plant and tool, your various items will appear here in the sidebar. Next, let's take a look at the Fleet Manager. And this is where you can manage all of your various vehicles. To add a vehicle, click the Add Fleet button here in the top right. And give your vehicle a name, and save. And this creates a vehicle profile. Here you can upload an image of the vehicle, and input the license plate, select a driver from your employee list, input the year of the vehicle, the make, the color, the cost, purchase date, inspection date, tax date, warranty dates, insurance dates, and any other custom fields that you'd like to add, as well as any notes that are specific to this vehicle. Under the History tab, you can add any events to the history of this vehicle. Just give this a title, specify the date, the mileage, the cost, and then set the type, whether this was maintenance, repairs, service, inspection, sold, accident, scrapped, or other. Under the Documents tab, you can upload any files related to this vehicle, such as the registration or tracking codes. And under the Notes tab, you can add any notes specific to this vehicle. And that completes the management section here for our company details. Next, we'll take a look at this Resources section here. These are the various resources that our company will be using throughout all of our various projects, starting with Tradespeople. Under the Tradespeople window, we have a map of America and a list of all the various tradespeople that we might regularly use in our various jobs. Depending on which state we're working in, Price a Job will automatically recommend an hourly rate for each of these various trades. So for example, an apprentice bricklayer in Michigan is probably being paid somewhere around $18.50 an hour, whereas that same job in New York is probably over $27. So depending on where you're working, the rates will change under the recommended column to reflect the regional rates in that area. If you prefer to see these rates displayed as daily, you can select daily here in the top right, and that converts all these hourly rates to an 8-hour day. Let's keep this focused on hourly for now, and let's say we have a bricklaying job in Illinois. The default rate in the system is set at the maximum of $27.64, which would be similar to a New York rate. Because we're looking at a job in Illinois, the recommended rate is $18.50. Now, if we'd like to make this recommended rate our new default rate, because all of our jobs will be in Illinois, we can copy rates here and transfer the recommended rate to our default rate. And agree. And now the default rate has been updated to match the regional rate selected on the map. If we have a project that's already been opened, its rates will remain at the previous default. To update our project rates, we can copy the recommended rate to our project rate here. And agree. However, our current project will not be updated until we update the project with this button here. So to do that, we can update the project, and now our project rates have been applied to our current project. And because we've updated our default, any new projects that we open will also be charged at this recommended Illinois rate. Next, let's take a look at the Materials resources. This opens the Price a Job library of materials. And within this library are thousands of various materials that we might use in our various construction jobs. They're organized across the top here in a variety of categories, currently filtered to all, but we can also filter this by aggregates, lintels, doors and joinery, roofing, landscaping, electrics, plumbing, flooring, concrete, and many other various categories. If there's something specific that we're looking for, we can just search for it quickly here. Maybe we need some 2x4s. And Price a Job will automatically filter the library down to only the results that show our input. Here we have a list of descriptions of the various materials, their unit charge, whether this is each or per foot or per pound or per bag, the unit price, in this case about $9.50 each, and a website link where we can view the supplier details and any specifications regarding this material. If you're searching for a material that does not appear in the Price of Job library, you can add the material manually. Just click Add Material here in the top right, give your material a name, select the units by which it's sold, and this might be by the ounce, each, by the box, bag, or pound. In this case, we'll select a bag. We can input the price, the category, and then input the website link for the supplier that has this material, and save. And this material will be added to the Price of Job library. Next, let's take a look at the labor resources. And very similar to the materials, Price of Job has a library featuring all various types of labor tasks that are performed in various construction jobs. For example, applying primer, basic window installation, carpet removal, or click hardwood installation. These various labor tasks are also assigned various categories here across the top. Here we can sort these by architect fees, building control fees, carpentry, decoration, and a variety of other categories that we can browse. If we're looking for something specific, we can search that here in the search field. And if there's anything missing, we can just add that item of labor to the library. Next, we'll take a look at the plant and tool resources. And just like the materials and labors library, here's the Price of Job library of all the various plant and tool that we might require for our various jobs. For example, a 10,000 watt generator, a step ladder, a brick saw, or a scissor lift. And each of these items comes with an associated price per day. These are also organized by categories that we can browse through, including access, breakers, carpentry tools, cleaning, compaction, concrete saw, and a variety of other categories. If there's any plant and tool that we are searching for specifically, we can search here. If it doesn't appear in the library, we can add it. And lastly, we have a library of other costs. And these are costs that don't fit neatly into the other categories. Items such as accommodation, delivery charges, parking permits, and protective clothing. Next, let's go back to the top navigation bar and let's select the Project tab. This is where we can input details specific to a particular project. To select the project, we can click the drop-down arrow here, and this opens the project selection window. By default, Price of Job has the first project already started for us here called First Project. We can add a new project by selecting Add Project and giving it a title. And save. And now we can choose the project that we're working on by toggling between the titles here. Each of these various tabs allows us to input our various settings for this specific project. There's also 3 dots here that we can click on to open the project details window. And here we can also modify the project details by General tab, Tax and Profit, Versions, and Location. To start with, under the General tab, we can edit our project's title. We'll call this project Extra Garage. Once we've done our estimate, we can download the proposal by clicking this icon here. A job number has been automatically assigned based on our job prefix that we set back in the Company tab under Company Setup, and assigned to the next job number automatically, in this case job 002. We can input the job date, the currency, the category, and status. And then we can assign this project to a customer. So let's assign this to the Smiths, and their address information is automatically populated here from the details in their customer profile. The site address also copies the customer address from their profile, but only if we have this box checked here, Copy Customer Address. If the job site is different from the customer's contact address, we can deselect this box here and then input the details of the job site. In this case, we'll just leave it set as the customer's home address. And you'll notice up at the top that this project is indicated as being version 1. Price of Job allows us to track various versions of each project as various changes are made to the job and proposal. To manage those versions, we can click on the Versions tab here. Currently, we only have the original version of this job so far, but to add a new version, we can just click Add Version here. And we'll just copy the existing version and create. And now we can very easily toggle between the 2 versions here. And it's a good idea to leave little notes for yourself to easily identify the differences in the versions. So perhaps version 1, they only required the garage only, but perhaps for version 2, the customer requested that we added an upper loft. And this makes it easy to track the various changes to our project without destroying the original versions, which we can go back and refer to later if we need to. Next, let's take a look at the Tax and Profit tab. By default, Price of Job will add your default profit margins to each project. To deselect the profit from your projects, you can deselect this checkbox here to remove all profit from material, labor, plant and tool, and other costs. Alternatively, you can have profit included, but just hide it from your current proposal. In this case, we definitely want to show that. If we've negotiated any discounts with this client, we can reduce our profit margins here by adjusting the sliders on our material, labor, plant and tool, and other costs. Our tax registration is automatically forwarded from our company setup, and here we have the opportunity to adjust our local tax rate. And if we want to apply a discount to this proposal, we can select the discount amount here, either as no discount, a percentage discount of the total, or a fixed dollar amount. In this case, we'll just select no discount. Another interesting feature in Price a Job is the rounding tool, and this allows you to round the quantities of materials, labor, plant and tool, and other costs to the next nearest whole number. So for example, if the current project calls for 2.5 sheets of plywood, you can select rounding so that those 2.5 sheets will be rounded up to 3. The same thing with labor. If a job takes 2.5 hours, you can round that up so that your employees get paid for the full third hour. By selecting these checkboxes here, we apply rounding to the current project. We can apply rounding to all projects by selecting the checkboxes under Global Settings. Next, let's take a look at the Location tab. And this displays a map of the site location. You can click this link here to open the location on Google Maps to request driving directions or other details. Next, let's take a look at the Rooms tab. This is a section where you can input the various measurements of the rooms before you calculate the estimate. Here you can add a floor, so this might just be the main floor, and then add a room. And you can add as many floors to the project as you want and as many rooms to each floor as you want. So because we're building a garage with a loft, let's add a first floor and a second floor. And for this one, we'll just call this one Main Garage. And for the second floor, we'll add a room and we'll call this Loft. Now for each of these areas, we can input our floor area, ceiling area, perimeter, height, and walls area. And then later, when we get to the estimating stage, all of these details will be already pre-input for us. So let's go ahead and input some measurements here for our main garage area. Next, we have some management tools for photos, documents, a to-do list, timesheets, and emails. The Photo Manager is an area where we can upload photos specific to this project, and this will be part of our 2 GB of shared cloud storage. And these might be photos of the site or concept art. Next, we have a Documents Manager. And again, as part of our 2 GB of shared storage, we can upload any documents related to this project. And this might be licenses or blueprints. Next, we have a to-do list specific to this project, and we can add tabs across the top here. And you can add various tasks to each tab. Next, you have a timesheet section for this specific project. So to input hours, just click Add Person, and here you can select from your employee list, and then input your hours on the timesheet. And then we have a tab here for email. And Price a Job allows you to email your clients directly from within the platform. Just input their address, a subject line, and then you can choose from a template. Price a Job has professionally written email letters here for quote letters, receive payments, and new invoice letter. If you'd like to create your own template, you can just type in the message body, whatever needs to be said, and then when you're done, you can save that as a new template. Next, let's take a look at the Estimates tab here in the top navigation pane. And this is where most of the work of Price a Job takes place. In this toolbar, we can see that we're currently estimating the current project for the Extra Garage version 2. And then we have a variety of modules that we can estimate for. So for example, we have legal fees, preparation, excavating, concrete, brick and block, framing, openings, insulation, roof, electrics, plumbing, HVAC, internal, exterior, finish carpentry, landscaping, renovations, provisional, lump sums, and day work, or custom modules. There's also a takeoff tool that will allow us to trace our floor plans to acquire the various measurements, or we can import modules from already completed projects. Here in the left-hand pane, we have tabs for rooms, and you can see here are the room measurements that we already input in the previous steps. There's a Calculations tab, and this is where we do most of the work of building our various estimate modules. And there's also a Reports tab, and these reports will be automatically updated with our calculations to generate various reports. Let's head back to the Calculations tab. Let's start by doing a sample module. In this case, we'll choose the concrete category. In this case, each of these modules are in their own subcategory. In other cases, for example here under framing, we can see that wall framing external can be expanded to show various modules within the same subcategory. But for now, we'll just stick with the concrete, and we'll select concrete slab, and create the module. And this creates a concrete slab module here within the estimate pane. The estimate window is set up into 3 panes. Here on the left, you have a list of the various modules. Currently we just have the one so far, but by the time we're done with this garage, we'll have concrete slab, we'll have walls, we'll have roofing, we'll have a variety of modules all set up here by the time we're done with this project. On the right-hand side, we have our stages pane, and this is where we input all of the specifications for this module. For example, the area, the details of the membrane, the insulation, the mesh, the concrete, and any extras. The details that we input here will be automatically added to these center panes, and these are separated into a sketch pane, a description pane, and the actual estimate itself. Each of these panes is expandable. For example, here's the sketch pane. We can click this icon here to expand this to full screen. And then we can click the Update Sketch button to bring the sketch into a proper size. We can use our mouse to maneuver this image in our field so that we can see it more clearly. And these are all 3D images. We can click on any section of this to rotate the image to see it from a variety of angles. And within the sketch, we can actually see each of the various stages of this module. For example, here's the concrete, here's the mesh, here's the insulation, and the membrane. And if we need help identifying these items in the sketch, we can just go over here to the stages, and for example, for the membrane, we can toggle this check mark here on the membrane stage to remove the membrane from the sketch. And by doing this, it draws attention to itself so that we can see more clearly which item is being referred to in the stage on the sketch. Here's another example with the rigid insulation. We can deselect rigid insulation, and that's removed from the estimate and from the sketch. Let's minimize our sketch pane and reset our image. And let's head over to the stages pane. To get started, we have to input the area of our concrete slab. Now, if we know the area of our slab, we can just input that manually. And as soon as we hit enter, PriceJob makes a variety of assumptions and automatically populates our estimate with the various materials, labor, and other costs associated with this module. In addition, the description also updates with nicely written descriptions for each stage of work to be performed. And just like we saw in the sketch pane, if we deselect any of these stages, for example, the membrane, here we can see the membrane in the estimate pane itemizes $142. If we were to deselect that from the stages, it is removed from the estimate as well as our total costs. You can see without the membrane, the total cost is $7,600. With the membrane, it's $7,760. Now, if you're not sure of the area of your concrete slab, PriceJob also has a very handy area calculator. We can click on that to enter the area calculator tool. If we previously set up our measurements in the Rooms tab, we can click Rooms now, and here are the measurements that we previously set. So for example, the floor area is already set at 800, so we can just click the plus icon, and that is added to our area calculator tool here. If we want to edit that, we can do so by clicking on the pen icon, or we can delete it by clicking on the trash icon. Another interesting way to calculate your areas is to add area. And this is a really handy tool when you have an irregular area that you're calculating the area for. So for example, if this garage was L-shaped, you might calculate that as 2 separate sections. First, you would have your initial square, and that might be 20 feet by 10 feet. And we can save that. And then we could add another area, and then we could add the separate section of that L, and this might be 20 feet by 20 feet. And we can save. And PriceJob takes both of these sections and adds their totals up to come up with the total area. This would be a fairly simple calculation, but when you start getting into irregular shapes such as trapezoids, quadrilaterals, triangles, or circles, then this tool becomes extremely valuable to have. In this case, I'm just going to delete all of these, and we'll go to our Rooms tab and add our 800 square feet of floor area. But let's say we want to add a negative space. Maybe we have a cutout in this floor that needs to be subtracted from our total area. So in this case, we would just select the area that needs to be cut out. And maybe this is a 2 foot by 2 foot square cutout for a sump pump. But because we're subtracting this from our total area rather than adding it, we can go to the operator here, and rather than selecting plus, we will select minus. And now when we save this to our calculation, -4 square feet is applied to our total area. So although we know the total area of the concrete slab is going to be 800, PriceJob has calculated the cutout as well for a total area of 796 square feet. Now we can save this to our estimate, and our description and estimate costings and total pricing have all updated to reflect the changes. If we ever need to go back to refer to our calculations to see how we arrived at this 796, we can just click Area Calculator again, and all of our work is saved. Next, we can specify the thickness in inches of this slab, and we can either input that as a number or just use the plus and minus buttons here to adjust that. And then we can specify whether we'll be using mesh or rebar. And as we make these changes, again, our description is automatically updating to show the work and materials being applied to the project. Then we can go through each of the stages and specify the materials and other details of each individual stage. So for example, for the membrane, we can select this drop down here and choose from a variety of membranes in the price of job library. And that will be automatically updated here in the estimate. We can also click the material within the estimate itself to either select a different material from the library or specify that the material is supplied by customer, or just set a placeholder allowance. If the material is supplied by customer, we'll see an exclusion added to the description up at the top here that says that the vapor barrier will be supplied by customer, however labor will be calculated. And here within the estimate, we can see that the vapor barrier itself is set at $0 material cost, but the labor for the installation is still calculated at $61. So let's go ahead and change this to an actual material. And that adds the cost back into the estimate and adds the membrane back as an inclusion in the description. For the rigid insulation, we can deselect this if it's not required, and that's removed from the description and the estimate as well as the sketch. But if we're going to be including that, then we can specify the area, and here we can see our area calculator tool again. And we can also choose the type of rigid foam that we plan to use from the library. For mesh, we have options here to choose either 1 layer or 2 layers. And again, we can see that that is updated here within the sketch. But in this case, we only require a single layer, so we'll just select 1 layer. And then we can choose our mesh materials. And for the rebar, we can select either 1 layer or 2, and we can set our spacing and lengths and choose our materials. In this case, I don't think we actually need the rebar, so let's just deselect that. And that removes the rebar stage from our estimate. Let's close this sketch pane so we can see everything here and just resize our sketch. And then for the concrete slab, we can specify whether we'll be using ready mix, mix on site, or a concrete pump. And here we can specify the mix that we plan to use. And if we need any extras, we can just click on the extras library here. And this opens the price of job library of accessories. And here we have masonry accessories, sealants, concrete mix, bricks, a variety of concrete blocks, 4-inch, 6-inch, 8-inch, and 10-inch, as well as rebar. So if there's any extra accessories that we'd like to add, we can just select that. So perhaps we want some sealants. Let's add some silicone here. Just select that, and that's added to our accessories here. And then we can increase the quantity that we need by clicking the plus button. Then when we close this window, these extras are added to our estimate here at the bottom as extra materials. And that is factored into our estimate. Once we're done making all of our various changes and adding all of our extra modules, then we can go to the Reports tab. Price of Job will automatically create a nicely written quote for us based on the estimate that we just created. And here's a nicely written description for all the materials that we just input. We have options here to either show a simple quote or advanced. Under the advanced quote, we have options to either show or hide the descriptions, materials, labor, plant and tool, other costs. We can hide the pricing, and we can hide the units. We also have options to show stage prices or none. And we can also show detailed pricing so that there's a complete breakdown of materials, labor, plant and tool, and other costs for each module. You can change the title of this quote to either an estimate, a quote, a quotation, or a proposal. We'll just stick with quote for now. And then when we're ready, we can either print this, export it as a PDF, export it as a Word document, or email it from directly within Price of Job. There's also a variety of other professionally written reports here that we can print or export, including a cover page, a cover letter, a summary, resources, bill of quantities, a profit chart, a payment schedule, an orders list, a professionally written contract, or we can combine various reports to export as either PDF, Word, or Excel documents. If you'll be sending this to your customer, you want to be sure that your profit reports are deselected. When you're ready to send, you can click on Send and email us from directly within Price a Job. Next, let's take a look at the Scheduling tab. To create a schedule, you can either import from a current estimate or start a new one that's empty. Let's import this from the current estimate. Here within the estimate, you can see each module, in this case concrete slab, and the expected time that it will take to complete, in this case 2 days. Because this job is starting on a Friday, this 2-day job appears to be taking 4 days long, but 2 of those days are a weekend, and those are blocked out in green. To adjust your working days, you can use the toolbar here at the top to specify what days you're available for work. If you're working Saturdays, then this job that starts on a Friday will be completed on the Saturday, and it's only a 2-day job. If you're taking the weekend off, it's going to have to stretch past the weekend. If we had multiple modules, let's go back to our estimate quickly here, and let's just very quickly add another module. We'll just do a bit of excavation here. We'll do some general excavation, create a module, and we'll just set our length and width at 20 by 40. And there's some excavation. Now let's go back to our Scheduling tab and import from our current module. And we can import the excavation module that we just added. So we'll import that. And now we have 2 tasks here on our schedule. And of course, we know that the concrete slab can't be poured until the excavation is complete first. But Price a Job doesn't see that yet. It thinks that we can do these 2 tasks simultaneously. But in order to link them concurrently, what we can do is we can go to the first task, in which case this is the excavation, and we can click the end link here and drag that and connect it to the start link of the concrete slab. And that links these 2 tasks concurrently so that the excavation has to be completed before the concrete slab can be poured. And there's a lot more you can do with the Price a Job schedule, but we'll be covering that in another tutorial. Next, let's take a look at the Accounting tab. And here we have a variety of accounting tools, including an accounting overview with our total estimates, income, payments, expenses, and hours. We also have a list of invoices, payments, credits, expenses, timesheets, customers, profit and loss, customer activity reports, and statements of account. And we'll be covering all of these in further detail in another tutorial. If at any point you ever find you're stuck and you need some help, you can just go up to your profile icon here and click the drop-down button and select Help. And here you'll find a variety of FAQs and other helpful instructions for various tasks within Price a Job. If you're looking for support, you can click on the chat icon here in the bottom right corner. This has been a general overview of Price a Job, but we'll go into further detail on all the various functions of Price a Job in other tutorials. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you enjoy using Price a Job.